Hello out there in YouTube, welcome to the OKGoodReview channel. So guys, before I get into this, which is the follow-up to our first vlog, which will be the video preceding this one, before I get into that, guys, I would like to offer you all a heartfelt thanks for anyone who has come by, viewed our content, left us a comment, subscribed, or communicated with us on Twitter at all. We really appreciate having you as an audience as well as your support. It means a lot. And part of why this has been such a rewarding experience has been the interaction with you. In fact, if there is a silver lining to this whole FTC COPPA thing, it's that we are in connection and we've come across other channels, other creators that we might not have known about otherwise. So, I mean, I guess there's the small silver lining to all this. I hate bumping the content, guys, for this, but I have to stress to you again the importance of this because the very existence of our channel itself could be affected. Now, this is going to be a longish video. The first one I had guys, so this is just some of my notes here. I had 3 pages, guys, for the preceding video. 3 pages. This one I've got 18, and there's stuff scribbled all over this. What I really want to do, guys, is just lay it out for you and the FTC. I'm hoping the FTC will view this with other stories that are out there so they can really gain a more comprehensive picture of what it is that's at stake here. There's been some, it sounds like some moderate regret or some lack of awareness on their part about the so-called unintended consequences. And I think it's important that they understand exactly what it is that their actions will be doing. A lot of what YouTube does, separating those two I think is super critical. I'll get more into that later. But for the FTC's part, when they're talking about actual legislation and enforcement and fines and things like that, I appreciate their effort to do what they can to get it right, to make sure they have all the facts in front of them. And so, like I said in the last video, I was not going to do this until the end of the year, just to talk about the upcoming 2020 year. However, after the last video, so I wasn't going to do this initially from the last video until the end of December and talk about 2020 and the changes ahead for the coming year. And then after the last video, I thought, okay, so the public window closes on December 9th. There will be a link in the description below, guys. Please, 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 please comment to the FTC. There's a change.org petition. That's great. That's fine. It's meaningless, though, in comparison. That's why I don't link to it. It's great that they have a lot of signatures and stuff. I mean, I think that holds some resonance. However, the FTC comment window is going to be a lot more powerful. So please make sure you're commenting there, even if you do nothing else. So that's what I was going to do. I was going to go to, after the public window closed, I was going to make a second vlog somewhere in there, kind of as an update to this. But what happened was I filmed the first vlog, the one right before this one, and the very following day, I had not even finished editing it. The very following day, YouTube came up with a whole bunch of shenanigans, a whole bunch of windows that were tagged onto the top. They were overlaid on our screen, you know, about we're required to do this. We're required to do this other stuff. So to me, that's fine if they want to do it as a terms of service. If they're saying we're legally required, honestly, I think YouTube is taking a not very smart position because then they are almost acting like legal counsel. I don't think they should do that. I think this is stuff, a lot of this should have always been in the terms of service. It's more appropriate there. Having a federal agency trying to climb in on top of all this and manage the shenanigans of, there's so many lines that get blurred, there's so much gray area. That's a relatively small department in the government. It honestly doesn't really make sense for them to be trying to chase after individual creators in the first place. Like, just from that perspective, to me, that I don't understand that. Anyway, those changes from YouTube made it so that the first vlog was out of date before I posted it. However, there was enough good stuff in there that I said, okay, I'm not going to re-record it. It's edited. I scheduled it. I bumped a bunch of other stuff. And then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, I can't wait. You know, I can't do that. I want to lay everything out, guys. I want you all, and again, I know this is going to be long, and I really hope everybody goes through it, because I'm going to try to be as thorough as I can be. But I still am planning on having to do follow vlogs as well. This is not the kind of content we want to film, but again, it is critical if we're going to continue that a lot of stuff happen. So anyway, so in addition to these 2 vlogs, I've got 3 blog posts, guys, for you to check out on our blog, for the FTC to check out on our blog, including some exchanges I had with their Office of Public Affairs. Verbatim, I didn't alter anything. It's just straight dumps from emails with my commentary at the very, very end of it. There is a lot of public Twitter commentary, guys, I've made on this. I encourage you to read a lot of that. So there's all those things comprehensively, I think, should present a lot of information for the FTC to help them really understand what exactly they've bit off here. I can't fly to DC personally to go speak with them. I know some of the people like Creekcraft, there's a Jeremy J-Law, sorry, I don't remember his name. You can find his Twitter feed, though, from our replies and stuff. I believe we are actually following his channel as well, so you can look through the people we're following and find that. There's Hoglaw, that's another really good one. But Jeremy and Creekcraft are directly going to Washington to go meet with the FTC, which is great, and thank you guys for doing that in particular. I hope this is some use in that task, both the FTC independently and if you guys go there and want to take some of these talking points. But I can be available to the FTC via email. I've already emailed back and forth with their OPA a little bit. Or if they would like to speak on the phone, I'm available for that. I can't, like I said, I can't fly there this year though, so that's not anything I'm even offering. If they want to make a YouTube creator panel, I could do that remotely. I don't see them saying, well, we need independent consultants, let's go hire some. I mean, I'd be open to that as well, but I don't see that happening. But the important thing is that whether you're a creator or a viewer, if you have not commented in their public window, please pause this video, go do that. Or wait till the end, go do that. Just please do it. So, like I was saying, after the last video, YouTube had this sort of demand window pop up, but only in the YouTube Studio Beta. It comes up on Classic to tell you to go to the YouTube Studio Beta. You can't actually do anything in Classic. And the layout is funky in Studio. It's not good. I don't like using it. I try to not use it at all. It's awful. But the idea was you could go there and go back and categorize all your old videos, and it would also allow you to pre-categorize when you're uploading. I don't do that. I go through Classic because I like the way that it basically, the view screen gives you a more comprehensive picture at a glance. I like that part, and I have not found a way yet to mimic that in Studio. Honestly, my connection isn't always the greatest, so if it's slow page loading and stuff like that, the beta is very funky. So hopefully they'll have that resolved by the time they shut off Classic, but I don't do that. Anyway, so with the current COPPA and the settlement with the FTC and all that stuff, they wanted all those categorized. So I have done that, but that also is what prompted this video as well, because as we get deeper into it, more and more stuff is starting to develop a little bit. So YouTube and the FTC say that creators know their own content best. So it should follow from that creators would be incapable of being fined, because any fine would have to come from the creators who know their own content best, right? So we'll get into that more, but that should be how it works, right? If we say, hey, we should get a fine, then that's the person who should really be saying that, because we know our content best, right? Right? We don't know our audience. I have no idea who's watching this video. I have no idea who's watching any of our content. I don't have access to that information. And probably YouTube doesn't either, unless somebody is logged in. And then they know things like usernames. You can't possibly know the age, because nobody has to submit an ID to a scanner to get onto YouTube. So burden of proof, I think, is something also that sort of should have played into this more. Right now, there's a lot of assumptions. We assume that if you view something that we think is for kids or targeted at kids or involves something that is relative to pre-13-year-old children, then it automatically is. So you know your content better, except unless we think it's something different. And because we might think that, here is, you could buy a new car, a fairly nice new car, for less than $42,000. So they're charging you a car per video. Let's just say the video is 2 or 3 minutes long. So $21,000, right, per minute, if you look at it in those terms. It seems completely out of proportion to something like that, especially when there is not a burden of hard proof. In practice, I went through all the videos, okay? All of them. In practice, they say, well, if YouTube's algorithm flags something as for kids, you can change it back. In practice, I can't. So what happened to us knowing our content better? I don't know. I guess we know our content better until we don't, right? That's what we're saying. So why should YouTube and the FTC even be saying stuff like, oh, well, creators know their own content better, right? Does that make sense? Those two things don't line up. They don't click. They're not consistent. If you're saying that I know my own content better, we're very cautious with our content. You can look through all of our content on this channel, and there's nothing even remotely objectionable for a family-friendly audience. And we take that to also mean safe for work. But there's a lot on this channel. I keep going back to unsticking a garbage disposal. I don't know of a child in existence that is going to care about that content. Right? But if they flag our whole channel, that video will be marked for kids. Yeah. So consistency is a struggle here. We still can't change those videos. YouTube has a pile of them that are marked wrong. Most of the time, we don't even have an age range, like I was just saying. We make content that doesn't have swears, for instance, right? We're not changing that. We have content that... So one of the things that... let's back up. So one of the things I have understood is that people hand a device, here kid, go watch this for a while, right? While I go play Candy Crush on my phone, or I watch the news, or I do these other things, right? Here, just watch this, right? Here you go. Go have fun. So YouTube will autoplay a bunch of stuff, right? And part of the tendency was that YouTube is very incautious and non-judicious with the feeds, the videos that came up in the feed. So if you're watching one channel, you could wind up with a whole bunch of content that you did not want your child to see. Part of what we wanted to do, part of my involvement in this, I guess I should say, is that I never wanted that to happen. If somebody is watching our channel, stem to stern, right? I want them to be able to view everything that we have without worrying about if there's going to be some profanity, if there's going to be objectionable content or violence or even a suggestion of something that could get somebody hurt or is just not generally a good idea. We took great pains for that, but that's not restricted to an age range. That is just what we do as what we feel our part of our responsibility as creators, at least for this channel, is to set a good example. Right? Is that appropriate for every channel? No. But we're not worried about every channel. What I'm worried about is some kid who goes to grandma's house and says, hey, check out this channel I like, and they just sit there and hang out with videos, and the grandma is horrified because we're trying to be sneaky in some respect. So I go through all these videos, 646 when I started doing it. I found less than 10% had been, they were conceivably, to my mind anyway, and to the regulations, that they were actual candidates that would meet the so-called for kids criteria. I'm not saying there were zero. That'd be false, right? But there was less than 10% because typically we try not to do that because I don't want to make contact locked into an age range, right? Part of what I had in mind to develop the channel is, what if we made content that could still be something a child could watch as he gets older, for example, right? And if you do that, I think it's broad, because then you can plug any age of any viewer in there and hopefully it's of interest to them, right? So we were never really chasing the very, very young crowd. There is so much out there doing it so much better. That just wasn't really what we had in mind. I mean, that didn't speak to us, I don't think, creatively. Part of it is the star of our show's journey. Like, you're watching him to a degree grow up, right? So he's not going to be interested, just like most kids aren't, he's not going to be interested in the same things when he's, for instance, 10 years old or 12 years old or 8 years old that he was when he was 3 or 4. So locking it into that time frame, guys, I mean, there's always going to be new kids, but that just, something that topical didn't seem like anything we wanted to pursue, and it didn't make any sense. So a lot of our content, though, was tagged by YouTube. So including a collector's line of Transformers called Studio Series. Those are meant for collectors. The whole line is built around older collectors. They're not toy hammer things. You know, like the movie line toys for Bumblebee the movie. Garbage as far as I was concerned. But they were designed to appeal to a younger kid crowd that want to transform them a million times and use them as hammers, right? Studio Series, higher detail, and it's really aimed more at the collectors. But those are getting flagged. Almost, in fact, I think all of them got flagged. We've only done a few of them, but I think they've all gotten flagged. Huh? What? How? Unless you're saying it's kids attractive, right? And if you're using that criteria, everything could potentially be flagged. So I couldn't change them back. I tried. I couldn't do it. So YouTube said I could do it. I couldn't do it. You can appeal it by hitting send feedback, right? But we have a lot of those videos, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too, so the system is probably bogged down right now on that. We're not monetized. We had made a cumulative $0, guys, doing this. So that seemed pointless, and for now I'm letting it go. I don't agree, but I'm not chasing it. What I have done, though, however, and this is part of the changes for 2020, and I am so sorry to say this, but I have canceled quite a bit of our upcoming involved content. And it was not a decision I made lightly. A lot of it is scripted. So we took time to script it. I bought props for a lot of it, but I can't make it. I can't. We can't do it now. A lot of those videos could fall in that criteria, and we don't. I specifically don't want to make pre-13 videos. I can't say that any more bluntly and blatantly than that. I don't want to do that. And if YouTube is just going to go, oh, there's this, so ding, here you go. Some of our videos are all-day shoots. They take me 2 to 3 hours to edit, or more sometimes. And I don't do a lot of the fancy effects like 8-Bit Ryan. Most of what I do is a straight timeline, just making sure that it's flow and stuff like that. I play with the color a little bit, I play with the sound a little bit. But I don't do fancy drops and stuff like that. On those, because there's so many different angles and so many different shots, and there are actually some sound effects anyway in some of those things, because of all that, it just takes a vast amount of time, and it's honestly almost exhausting. And then we get, for that many hours, we might get a 10, 12-minute video possibly. And as soon as it gets dinged for kids, it is all for what? Right? For what? It's exhausting, and that kind of mental energy, it's a shame. It's a shame because I expect YouTube and the FTC to come more to their senses on this. I am just afraid they won't do it until our star is too old. Like, he's not going to be interested in that stuff forever. Right? There's already videos I had to cut out. Some of those were due to the weirdness they were doing with copyright. But there's already stuff I've had to cut out that we never will do. It never will exist. But right now is the wrong climate. So the whole time we've been doing this, we've never tried to game the algorithm. We've never mislabeled titles. And you can go back and look. It's nothing. There's no unlisted or private stuff on our channel except for the stuff that's scheduled and that's coming up. There's no, I don't even do funky stuff like trying to tag other people that are more popular than our channel in the search tags. I don't do those things. We're trying to be as legit and honest as possible because this channel was founded and runs and is driven and will always continue to act with integrity as long as I'm involved. That's our commitment to viewers. I know not every channel does that. We do that. And like I said, my personal standards, I won't do that. I won't even participate in anything else. Even the content I'm doing on the other channel, I won't do that unless it's with those standards and those ethics. So it took a while, as I mentioned here and there in some of our other footage. When our star said, hey, I want a YouTube channel, it took us a while before I could figure out the approach for it. Once I looked into it, once I researched it, once I said, okay, here's kind of how we can approach this, I figured a 3 to 5 year curve. We're 3.5 years right now. We're starting to finally get some traction. And I figured a 3 to 5 year curve unless something went viral, but you can't count on that sort of thing. And so everything was based on that sort of curve. And I really didn't intend for it to be a career for me, but I was hoping it would subsidize itself, which it hasn't to this point. And ideally, longer term, right, the 5 to 10 year and beyond mark, I thought I could maybe give a profitable business, which would be this channel, to the star of our show, Leah Maddock, and that would sort of help offset some personal considerations with him that I'm not going to get into specifically here, but which certainly could impact and maybe interfere with his ability to join the workforce. He's a very creative child, and this is a very good outlet for that. And if he doesn't have to worry about money and stuff like that, this would be a great thing to give him. I think every parent wants to be able to give stuff like that to their kids, right? So that was sort of the mindset that we had into that. January 1, 2020, the settlement's going to take effect. And right now, nobody is ready. Not YouTube. Definitely not the creators. Not even the FTC itself is prepared for this. And nobody knows what's going to happen, including everybody I just mentioned. Nobody actually knows. A lot of us are making educated guesses. But nobody really knows anything right now. It's still developing. I think it's going to change somewhat once the public window closes on December 9th, 2019. But right now, I made the analogy we're all trying to land a jumbo jet blindfolded, and that's exactly what it is at this point. So a lot of creators have decided to throw in the sponge. They're done. Donezo. It's over. Some of them have been doing it 10 years. And it's just complete. Oh, gone. Or finished, done, gone out. So long, Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. For us, we're not there yet. We've taken several steps back, though, to address why we're doing this channel, which we were going to do for 2020 anyway. It was kind of coming to that point, like I said in the last video. Ultimately, it is Leo Maddox's channel. And I don't know that he really cares about this change. Even though YouTube now has forced this channel into a hobby. It's something we can't develop any longer. The sort of nuclear option is we set the whole thing for kids, and then I start removing videos that are obviously not for kids content, and then I just move to a different channel. I talked about that a little bit in the previous video. Hopefully you guys have seen that. If not, please go back and watch it, and then start this video over, because this one is meant to build on that one. But anyway, for now, I've categorized everything, and I've decided we're not changing anything. We're just going to continue creating content the way we create content, except for the food crates, which are done. We are going to be going to a different posting schedule. I think I might have touched on that a little bit. We were at 4 videos a week at one time. For the past while, we've been at 3 videos. And all this is detailed in the blog, by the way. My guess is that starting in January, it's going to go to 2 per week. I don't know. If we have enough content, I might keep it at 3 until it stops making sense. I really like things on a schedule so everybody knows when they're going to get new content from us. But with the changes throwing out a lot of the interaction, the community stuff, I don't know if that matters anymore. It might be less. It might be 1 video a week. Once it gets to 1 video a week or less, I think we're going to be pretty close to putting it on hiatus. I'm not going to say we're going to be done with it completely, but I think at that point it's going to all go to For Kids and be on hiatus. So if you're watching and you care at all about this channel and that sort of stuff, that will be one of your indicators. I'm hoping the guidance will make our direction a little bit more clear. But for today, and today it's in November, I'm filming this probably 2 or 3 days before you're going to see it. For now, that's kind of where we're at. Being fined $42,000 for us, like for most other channels, would ruin us. Not just the channel. It's going to tank us. Right? That's a direct line right off a cliff into bankruptcy. So here's some real talk. Right now, I edit all our content on a tower running Windows XP. Standalone, so don't worry about viruses. But it is a Windows XP. The software itself is Sony Vegas 7. This video right now is being filmed on, it's about a year-old Canon, but I think it was around $150, $160 when I got it. And it's sitting on a $10 Amazon stand. I don't have a lighting rig. I don't have a ring light. I don't have any lighting other than what is ambient to wherever we are at the time. Like I noted, we've never made money from this channel, and we're not even in position to be monetized as I film this. So for the FTC, I think that's important to understand, because I think most creators are in a similar position. Maybe not with the equipment and software and stuff, but I think they're similar in that they're not monetized and aren't even close. And YouTube might move the goalposts again. Who knows? I haven't calculated all the costs for this channel. When we were using a tape system with the older camera, that was actually more than this camera cost. However, the food crates, I do know. So those were about $1,000 for 2019 combined, all the food challenges and different food related stuff we did for this channel, just by itself. So that means at a minimum, and this is nowhere near as much as we put into this, but at a minimum, we're at least $1,000 in the hole for this channel. That's not why we do this, and the benefits are kind of intangible. And it has a lot to do with I think our relationship and some future type vision, right? But $42,000, to put it in context, I said you can get a really nice brand new car for less than that. Both of our vehicles combined cost less than $42,000. So we're not talking about an insubstantial sum here. I don't think the FTC understood that most creators are in this position. I don't know if they would have made that settlement with YouTube had they been more aware of exactly what position the creators are in. I certainly hope they're hearing this and they understand now, because I don't think we're alone or even remotely unique in this. I don't believe that the FTC would want to wreck a whole bunch of lives behind this, which they would do with that fine, especially because we can't collect any data on the YouTube service ourselves. And we don't benefit from any of it, to be frank with you, even if it is supposedly done on our behalf. Other channels that might be a little bit different, maybe, I don't know. But for us, we don't benefit from any of that. It's not helpful to us at all. The question comes, so what should creators do? Some are getting Patreons. I struggle with that. We don't contribute to any Patreons, and I feel that I would be hard pressed to actually ask for that. While I'm running this channel, I don't think we will ever do that. A lot are quitting, like I said. Some are setting 100% of their content either to kids or not for kids. To me, that's not appropriate, either one of those. I'm just manually reviewing everything, but I've always done that. I've done that the whole time, including comments, right? Which losing those is we don't get a whole ton of them compared to some of the other channels, but we like that engagement, and it's a shame to cut that out. We're not gaining anything by doing that. There's not a reason for us to change right now. Actually, I would tell that to other creators too. So if they're looking for advice, I'd say, do what you're doing. Go through and analyze everything, absolutely. And be honest, if there's stuff that features, obviously, things that are going to get flagged for kids, you probably ought to just do that if YouTube hasn't caught it already. When they look at, I think the FTC, when they look at all the content available for your channel, they're going to be able to see, because if you've been flagging a lot of stuff yourself, and YouTube's been flagging some, there's a lot of it that's open-ended, I don't think they're going to say, this channel is a bad actor. I don't think any reasonable or rational person would. I honestly don't believe a court would do that either, because that's going to be in evidence. Snapshots of all your videos will be in evidence, should this ever go to a court and fines and so on and so forth, right? So that, to me, is probably fairly persuasive evidence that it could be an oversight or it could be a difference of opinion. And we'll get into that here shortly. But as far as the advice goes, I think you try to do your best to meet the criteria. Like I said, analyze everything, and it's the age-old saw, but I think it's never more true here. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, whatever that means for your respective channels. A lot of this comes down to how fast they would enforce it, and whether the FTC would really attempt to levy a fine when the guidance as to what's in violation and what isn't is that unclear. And especially the whole regard of family-friendly, which is what our content always has been, as long as I'm involved, is always going to be. And the whole child-directed thing, right? There's a huge, huge difference in those things. A wildlife show, family-friendly, not really especially intended for children. There's no shortage of examples out there for that. Cooking shows, right? Cooking shows. Same thing. If the YouTube and the FTC continue to say the creators know best, would the FTC attempt to fine a creator over a difference of opinion? Would a court uphold that? A fine over a difference of opinion, especially without clear guidance? Is a fine an appropriate remedy? Are there other corrective actions that could be taken prior to the fine? I think a court case would also resolve what I think is a faulty premise. Should creators even be subject to any kind of fine, or even COPPA itself at all? In my view, no. And I think they only are because of a misunderstanding by the FTC of how YouTube actually works. Creators are not operators. The FTC is trying to apply COPPA to them under that umbrella, that specific terminology. But creators don't collect data on the YouTube platform. That is the sole domain of YouTube itself. Whether or not they're saying it's supposedly collected on our behalf, we cannot so much as even see that data. I have no idea what data they're supposedly collecting for this channel, or this video, or any of them. No idea. We don't have that kind of control. Bottom line, YouTube could literally delete every channel on their service before you get done watching this video. And no creator could do anything about it. Creators then cannot be, by definition, operators unless they run their own website. No creator is running YouTube. YouTube runs YouTube. YouTube owns YouTube. They run it exclusively. You could even say they operate it. The burden of compliance is their rightful cost of doing business. Period. What we have is that YouTube was accused of something. They saw the writing on the wall, and they settled as expeditiously as they could, claiming ignorance naturally of what was on their platform, and thereby they created and supported both bad and untrue policy along the way. YouTube, I think, probably loves this current arrangement because it sort of absolves them of the burden and responsibility of compliance. It also gives them a shield, so they're having things both ways here. And getting all the money. Maybe not all of it, but most of it. So, them not going to court, as we get into this, as I do research, and I watched a lot of videos and read oodles of stuff, which I've tried to thereby signal boost for everybody. This has nothing to do with our channel personally, right? This isn't them targeting us. So I'm throwing it out there for everybody. And legal minds, smarter minds than mine, hopefully will take this and incorporate it into more of a unified message. But I'm not, hey, I got this, right? Here's the smoking gun. Everything I'm finding out, I'm throwing out there for consideration, right? But that's what it looks like, that YouTube did a disservice to their creator base with this settlement by not taking it to court. They obviously decided it was going to be cheaper in the short term, but I think there's some long-term backlash. And I think both the YouTube and the FTC right now are like the dog that caught the car. Neither of them knows what's now what. You know, they're I'm sure both go, now what? Now what are we going to do? Now what? There is so much stuff that doesn't have an answer right now. And YouTube right now with their studio beta thing, and even the FTC to a degree, is displaying this as a binary choice. Something is either for kids or it isn't. And I've just given you multiple examples of things that are a gray area. Things that are both. For kids and also not really for kids. Right? That same wildlife show, what if it gets into showing procreation and stuff like that? Well, if your child isn't ready for that biology lesson and you're not ready to have that talk with them, that is not necessarily for kid content that you want them exposed to. Yet, I don't think a whole lot of people are going to say wildlife programs or anything that should be age restricted. Or you're watching, right? Big cats, apex predators, jungle cats, safari cats, who are going to go find dinner their own way, which is a very violent and can be often gruesome manner. That kind of stuff can give kids whose brains are not ready to handle that kind of imagery nightmares and other stuff. So it's not really appropriate for a super younger audience. Again, nobody's saying, oh, we're going to go age restrict all this stuff. It isn't a binary choice. Treating it that way is not reasonable. There's no line that says, hey, this is for this age, and this isn't. It's an intensely problematic question, and in my view, I think they should actually just go to the ESRB guidance, which is the video game rating system. I think that is the most direct application to this, and I don't think you necessarily have to reinvent the wheel here. I think most of their criteria is appropriate, and it's easy to understand, very readily to understand. If YouTube want to make their E plus 10 into E plus 13, fine. I mean, if they want to cut stuff down to cover the e-childhood to the E+10 or whatever, great. I mean, there's room to add stuff, but I don't think you need to reinvent that. That's a pretty good and functional rating system. I think the FTC would have a lot of help actually ensuring compliance and enforcement with that as well. So if YouTube wants an independent creator panel, I would consider being on that as well. And if they wanted to make it a paying gig, I would be interested in being on it and to review like conflict videos, for instance, or provide guidance. I think that is something that YouTube could easily, I'm not cheap, but I'm saying that I think YouTube could easily afford that. They're a $1 billion company. Multiple $1 billion company. They have the funds to get this right. Child safety is already a huge facet of our content. And it's a guiding principle for how we make videos. But all ages does not mean strictly for children. And, you know, the big thing here is that all of the changes are not going to fix the problem. Oops! Let me say that again. All of these changes will not fix the problem. Data will still be collected on children unless YouTube either changes itself internally or they set 100% of their contents for kids. The collection will continue to happen. It'll happen on their parents' cell phones and laptops and tablets over the main site, and it's whether they're logged in or not. The question should have always been proof. That's why that's written into law. YouTube should have went to court to demand that. The FTC probably should have rethought that settlement also. You know, the whole idea that only kids are watching some of the younger content I touched on earlier, but it's honestly idiotic. Parents, grandparents watch toy videos, including unboxings. A lot of people watch unboxings, right? To see what's in there, to see if a toy's appropriate, to see if they're getting value. And they'll generally watch some programming with their kids, you know, at least at the beginning, to see if the message is acceptable. So the data you're collecting conceivably is not on the child or not exclusive to the child. So is COPPA being violated? In a lot of cases, parents more heavily monitor stuff than that even. A lot of schools and daycare programs use YouTube on site. Now they have to go through, hopefully, to go review all that content to make sure that it's appropriate for their charges. So assuming that it's a kid is not smart because it very easily and even possibly likely isn't a child. Star of our show, for instance, is not allowed to watch YouTube by himself at all. It's a defect that assumption makes. And it makes it even if a user is logged in. And that creates future compliance problems. Then we look at child attractive. Let me give you an example. I love the Teen Titans Go show and most of the toy line. I feel it's one of the all-time greatest well-written shows. I will watch happily any episode I come across. I've got several toys personally in my office. The show itself airs on the Cartoon Network. And so the impulse there is to say it's either child-directed or child-attractive. But the actual child of this channel is pretty ambivalent about it. Some of his favorite videos are like food stuff. People eating things, people cooking things, people making things, creative stuff. Or watching cat feeds, which is certainly family friendly, but not really directed to kids. Because a ton of people watch cat feeds. It's just not a reasonable criteria. It's honestly, I don't even think, it's not definable to me. It's even more vague than child-directed, and they should discard that. So for the FTC and whoever else is watching this, these ideas are here for you to make better policy. Or for you to present stuff, considerations. And to help you understand exactly what these channels and creators go through and are all about. Our approach for videos was not to look at them conceivably as to whether or not a kid would be interested. It has never been a factor, ever, except for the kid that was in the content itself. As long as he was entertained, fine. You see what I'm saying? These things don't jive. They don't line up. They don't connect. Kids are not really super predictable. So to say child attractive, that's the other problem with that, right? Anybody with kids will tell you that. So what we look at is, when I categorize stuff, I said, okay, I'm actually reversing it. And I'm saying, could the content be of interest to adults? Or would it be likely to be of interest to adults? Or even teens? Let's take Paw Patrol. I can't think of an adult or a teen that would have that much interest in that show. And it is geared entirely, including with the merchandising, towards a much younger audience. Same thing with Imaginext and the hyper-stylized figures in the sets. So any of the content with either of those two things, I marked as for kids because it realistically, to me, can't appeal to anyone other than them. And that was an easier way of sorting the criteria. And maybe really, honestly, that's how YouTube and the FTC should consider this. Maybe you look at it with the inverse. We also have Hot Wheels, right? Now, Hot Wheels this is a good example of the gray area, right? A few of our Hot Wheels videos, but not all of them, have been flagged. Now, Hot Wheels, with most of the commercials you see, are marketed as toys for a younger crowd. But there's collectors. There's a whole bunch of collectors that have tons of collections. If you go to a collector's shop, let's say you go to a Rogue Toys. Let's pick on Rogue Toys for a minute. You go to Rogue Toys, and they're the guys that are on Pawn Shop, right? The cable show. You go to Rogue Toys. You walk in there. There is a gigantic display, and I've seen this in all the stores I've gone to, of Hot Wheels. Collectors, Hot Wheels no longer produced. You could easily be throwing $50 at one of those 1/64 scale cars. What kid would ever do that? If you bought that car, and let's just say you wrecked the value by unboxing it on camera, and it got flagged for 4 kids, even though you're making it for other collectors, right? Is that is that a reasonable thing to happen? We use Hot Wheels for props in our science experiments. And there's a whole series of a guy that does demonstration of what the different sets do and how they operate. It isn't really angled at kids, though. There's a whole subset of restoration of Hot Wheels and Matchbox vehicles. And none of that is really designed or even geared towards a pre-13 audience. So, for the FTC, them ending consideration of creators as operators, as a concept, and as enforcement, and as any sort of policy, and also dropping the meaningless child attractive part, would definitely be more appropriate and accurate in relation to COPPA. And it would make compliance responsibility lie with the correct party, YouTube only. And that also makes enforcement easier. You're looking at YouTube instead of all the creators. You're going from 7 million to 1, and it's the right one. The most important factor here, they're getting it right if they do that. There also needs to be an appeals process. So we come back here to the difference of opinion. If the FTC comes across a video and says, hey, this is in violation, what is the process going to look like? Is there a chance to fix it? If they tag, say, a figure arts character, right, which is collectors only, and it's very expensive and kids generally would not be able to afford it. So it's not in their market at all. Is there a chance then to say, I didn't flag that figure arts figure for reasons X, Y, and Z? So is there an appeal that can be made? And I'm saying this for the FTC. I don't care about YouTube. YouTube can do whatever it wants. I can't control what YouTube does with their service or platform because I don't operate. I'm not an operator, right? What I care about is what the actual law and the FTC says. So is there an appeal there, right? YouTube and its creators has their own thing. It's ultimately YouTube's site and they can do whatever they want. And if I don't like it, I can shove off. Simple as that, right? With the FTC, it gets to be a little bit different. So how much does that line about creators knowing their content best work? How much is it going to hold? If I say, no, I don't want content, this is not for kids, then we have a difference of opinion, right? Then what? Do they say, okay, so you can either fix it by this and this date or we're fining you? Fine. Okay. At that point, I'm not arguing. We're not going to court over that. I'm just going to be like, okay, whatever. Right? But that is still better than the fine. Right? Because that bankrupts people. That ruins lives. That's a very important point that has to be considered in this. Has to. They're there to help the public trust. Sending them into bankruptcy will not accomplish that. Then you say, well, what if it was an accident and the video slipped through the cracks? Sure, I'll fix it. Fair is fair, right? I think most creators are going to be doing their best, but I guarantee you some content will slip through the cracks for those channels that choose to go either as not for kids or for the review at the video level. For the guys who are designating their whole thing as kids, obviously that won't come across, but I think as this develops, that's going to be less and less an appropriate choice for most channels, especially if they want to make money doing this. I think we need to separate the FTC from this as well. Most of these changes belong in the YouTube terms of service. I think it's disingenuous to them to be trying to say, well, you legally have to do this, because YouTube is acting like lawyers. That is not smart for them to do, but they want that because they want a bigger hammer, right? The more stuff that they can get other people to do and them to not have to do and spend resources doing, the better, because then they don't have to spend money on it. The idea of somebody who's logged in that can't save a video for later. The idea that videos are losing comments and it's not set by the creator for that. The idea of no notifications. Those things are stupid, and it removes a lot of incentive to create content. If you use those things, that means that you need an account. And you can't have an account because the terms of service say you're 13 plus. So you can't even have an account to use those things in the first place unless you state you are 13 plus. It's not clear how knocking contents off does anything towards COPPA compliance unless YouTube is doing funky stuff behind the scenes to begin with. They're trying to use COPPA like a shield. They're wielding it like a weapon. And I wish the FTC would not have given them that weapon. And I surely hope the FTC did not intend to do that. And I hope they find a way to correct it with much better COPPA policy which can supersede the agreement. I think much of the settlement incentive for YouTube was to gain coverage like this, where they could just shove it off and say, no, not us. The big bad FTC. It's the evil FTC. The FTC is doing this to you. Your government is doing this to you, right? It's not us. It's them. But it's not. Not them. They misunderstand how YouTube works. YouTube doesn't bother to correct them and goes, yeah, we'll take all those benefits, take them all day long. All day long. In that way, they get things coming and going. They're having it both ways. And the FTC has enabled that. Make no mistake. So, let me wrap this up with some commentary about how you can help as a viewer. How you can be involved. Even if you're a creator, this will largely apply. Until December 9th, please, description is below, go and comment in the FTC public comment window. By far the most important thing. If you need things to say, please go to our blog. There's a lot of stuff. Cut and paste the 2 comments we made to them if you want to. Change a couple sentences, make it your own. But please make sure your voice is heard. It's there for you guys to do that. I don't mind. I'm saying you can do it with our blessing. There's a change.org petition. I'm not going to link it. I don't think it matters that much. It's very popular. Sign it if you want to, but please, the FTC window, far more critical. So if you're doing one or the other, the FTC. If you're doing both, awesome. Come follow us on Twitter, because a lot of this stuff is happening in real time on Twitter. If you're going to send messages to the FTC commissioners on Twitter, We're requesting this, but please be polite. The FTC is not the big bad here. They're trying to do their jobs, and mistakes happen. You don't have enough information. That's the position that they're in right now. Our best bet is to try to educate them and help them understand. And that way they can see where the fallout's going to be. They can see what repercussions their actions have. What else can you do? You can subscribe. Please subscribe to us and any other channel you care about. You don't have to worry about monitoring it or anything like that. Subscription matters. It matters. It matters a lot. Share this video and the preceding one and any other COPPA videos. Signal boost this thing like crazy. You can definitely help there. There's going to be more of these vlogs. At least one more after the comment window closes. And once we get guidance. And probably one in 2020. I sincerely hope I won't be making one that the channel is ending. But I can't overstate this enough. Things are serious enough that that is not an impossibility. So there it is, guys. Hopefully I've covered this fairly thoroughly. It's a lot of stuff to consider. I know this is a crazy lengthy video. And again, thank you for watching and all your support. This has made something that's already not easy, which is doing a YouTube channel to begin with. It has made the mountain that much higher. This has made it much harder. That shouldn't be lost. And it's only going to be with the support of you and everybody coming together that we're going to be able to get through this thing if we get through it. So hopefully we can do that and it'll wind up being all right. But it won't happen without our intervention and us getting involved. So again, please whip through the description and help us and all the other creators you enjoy where you can. Goodbye until next time.